Hi, I'm Shelby Lee, and this is the Relationship as Medicine podcast. This is a space, a refuge, where we explore healing beyond pathology, where connection itself is the medicine, and fixing is never the goal. This season, we're expanding into even more conversations around trauma, neurodivergence, and what it means to be in truly supportive and empowering healing relationships. For therapists, practitioners, and anyone curious about their own nervous system or neurotype, especially those of us who have spent a lifetime looking like we're doing pretty well on the outside while carrying so much inside. This is for the kindred, deep feelers and sensitive souls who have ached for so long. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I am here today with Luana Rose. I am so looking forward to this conversation. It is a conversation that I don't think I've actually had before on this Relationship as Medicine podcast in terms of themes and topics. We're going to talk about neurodivergence. We're going to talk about couples. We're going to talk about transgenerational trauma and all the tangents that come from there and anything else Luana wants to talk about. Just a little bit about Luana. Luana is a neuro-affirming nervous system and relationship specialist with a seasoned expertise in somatic experiencing and childhood developmental trauma resolution, with helping 2,000 plus people in over 40 countries worldwide with a variety of mental, physical, emotional, and relational problems. Luana has been there for all of them. Luana, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Is there anything you want to add to that bio about what you're up to and what you've been up to?
Well, what I'm up to, what I've been up to, other than just human stuff, I'd say everything that I help people with, I'm also living uh through or have lived through with myself. So I'm someone that is with my people along the journey, as being in relational recovery or being in nervous system recovery. It's a with journey for me. So.
I'm so glad you said that because we met in a training program that's all about being with. And I believe that was the Transforming Experienced Brain
It
training,
was.
right? Yeah,
Mhm.
there are a couple in there. And blows my mind. I have looked far and wide for other folks who do this beautiful nervous system support that's all about being with, who are neuro-affirming, and there are so few. And so I was so excited that I actually know you and have gotten to experience like you as a person and that you specialize in all of these things that I'm so excited about. So thank you. Thank you for being you and for being here.
Oh, well, you're welcome and happy to be here and I agree. It's hard to find people that are all of those things in one human. So
Totally.
I'm just myself. So
All parts of you are welcome here. Do you want to share with folks where you are in the world in this moment and how you are?
yes. So where I am, I'm on Vancouver Island, the southern island in Victoria, BC, the Songhe and the Kwingun territories. And I've lived on the island for like 3 years, before that on the mainland. And my ancestry is Brazilian and Algerian. And I'm also adopted, so I'm have sprinkled in uh, and not ancestry, but soul family from Scotland and Austria. So that's kind of my placing myself in the context of relationships and where I come from.
Mm, that's so important. Yes, thank you so much. You have done so many things, and I'm aware that now, unless it's changed since last time we chatted, part of what you're really excited about is working with couples.
Mhm.
Tell me more about that. Why are you excited? How are you working with them? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm excited because one thing for me that kind of stood out over the past like 10 years of my career is people would keep saying, "Hey, do you know a couples therapist?" I'd be working with an individual. Do you know a couples therapist that, is trained in the somatic work that we're doing? I need help in my marriage. And I was like, oh, no, I don't have a long list. I maybe know like two people, and I maybe just know of them. I haven't actually experienced their work. So that's what inspired me to get trained up, and I'm trained in relational life therapy, which is a really particular kind of couples therapy that kind of brings in the marriage of confrontation and compassion, and those overlapping is what relational life therapy is kind of the backbone of what inspired me to get into couples work is my own clients that I was working with at the time. And yeah, I always take inspiration from the people that I'm surrounded with. And so now I just love it because it's like instead of helping one individual, most people have families, they have kids, they have grandparents, parents, and the ripple effect is just a lot like more vast and can be a lot deeper. Working with couples. Not to say that I don't ever work with individuals. It's just kind of the sweet spot is coaching couples at the moment.
I'm so glad to hear that because I always have just one or two people in my back pocket as well. And I feel like there should be so many. And the idea of coaching couples to me or supporting them therapeutically sounds like a nightmare. So I'm
I
like,
hear that often. Yeah.
part of what I've been doing lately is sending you clients who are neurodivergent looking for neuro-affirming therapists. And I'm curious when folks come in as couples, maybe one person's neurodivergent, one's not. Just as an example, I know you work with folks with all neurotypes, but how might you support them when people have two very different types of nervous systems, styles, communication styles, capacities?
The first part of our work together when I work with couples or even individuals is I really help people get to know there's these two parts of us that everyone has, no matter how old or how young we are. And that is our wise adult and our adaptive child. So, our adaptive child is the part of us that developed adaptation strategies, survival strategies in order to get through our family of origin, our home environment growing up. Also, on top of our adaptive child, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's was in the past. It can also be like masking that maybe we need to do at work or in certain social situations to get through our workday or get through this wild world that is not created for people that are neurodivergent. So that's kind of a part of us that I help people get to know. Uh, so when I'm sitting with couples, the other partner also gets to know that part of their partner, why it's maybe functional for them in certain situations and causing havoc in the relationship, right? And then there's our wise adult, which is the other part of us that we really dive deep in when I work with couples, and that's our wise adult. So our wise adult can think of us. It can think of you and me. And in this situation, even if I really have the strong knee-jerk response, this fight, flight, freeze, fix response to do a thing, that my adaptive child is like, yeah, this is what I do to take care of myself. My wise adult is like, okay, the knee-jerk response is there. I can observe it. I don't need to act on it. Our wise adult can think of long-term impact. Our wise adult, physiologically in our nervous system, we have like a deeper breath, softer muscles. We're not necessarily fully relaxed, but we're relaxed enough to think of, okay, instead of complaining to my partner that he is insensitive or doesn't see that I'm struggling. Our wise adult can say in a kind way, I would feel more loved by you or more supported by you in this moment if you come and just sit next to me. Don't want a hug, that's too much stimulus. Just sit next. I just want to feel like your foot touching my foot with socks on. Something very specific. Our wise adult is totally confident with asking for that request. And then, our partner can either, if they're on their good day, they're not in their adaptive child, they can be like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll put my sock on and come over, right? Or they'll be like, if they're in their adaptive child, maybe not available at that time, which I also help couples deal with. Our partners are not always available for us to give us everything we need, and then how do we take care of ourselves when that comes up? Because one thing that one of my teachers, Terry Real, has said to me that's always stuck. I'm like, oh, because I personally can be someone, my adaptive child can be a little demanding, a little needy. So that's a part of my adaptive child. So Terry Real's quote is that our partner ought to be, if we think about growing up, like our auntie or our uncle or our kind neighbor that lives down the street. They're not immediately in our, home, but they're there if we need them, or Tuesday nights, I know that Kathy's home down the street, but she's not there all the time, right? So what we have to get good at doing, and what I teach couples do, is take care of themselves. Be the parent for themselves, to soothe, to validate, to set limits on behaviors that are maybe destructive, um, because our partner is not supposed to fill all our needs whenever we need them. In my work, I help people care for their adaptive child, like nurture, guidance, limits,
Mm.
and get really resourced on the inside, and then be able to handle, whatever adaptation reaction we're having, fight, flight, freeze, fix. And then our partner is our like neighbor down the street that we go to as a secondary option, or cherry on top.
You mentioned right before jumping into this compassion and conflict.
Mhm.
How do these two concepts dance together in your method?
Confrontation and compassion. We need to be able to tell the truth to our partner, even if we're scared of their response. We need to be able to rock the boat. So that's confronting, right? I can't be totally avoidant of conflict to do that. I gotta like be able to tolerate, oh, okay, I gotta rock the boat, because what's happening right now isn't fulfilling. And for a lot of people I work with, they've been married for 20, 30 years. And if they're more in a traditional setup, fit into this mold of society that maybe was normal 30 years ago, 40, and now it's not. It's 2026. That's when rocking the boat can happen. It's not the only way to happen. We need to be able to rock the boat. That's number one. Speak in a way that's loving, that's confrontational, and from a place of, hey, this isn't working for me. It was before, and now I've, done some reflection and work, and it's not working for me anymore. And I would like for it to change so that I can be more content and more available to love you and be open. And then comes the second part of the loving confrontation, is we need to ask for what we want. And so rock the boat. Don't be afraid to upset the other person, because sometimes it does come as a surprise a lot of the time. Number two is ask for what you want. Got to go within. What the heck is it that I actually want? Ask for what you want in a way that it can be heard. Like, ask for it in a kind way. Don't do the complaining thing. And I know that's hard. Ask for what is it that you need, right? And then the third one is, which I've had clients laugh in my face about this before, because it's just so not an intuitive thing for so many people, The third one with loving confrontation is once your partner starts giving you what you've asked for, reward them. Thank you so much. I could relax and just have a beautiful evening to myself.
Mm.
That's what I would literally tell my partner. And he was like, okay, really? Yeah, okay, bye. And then he would do it again and again and again until it became a new normal in our relationship.
That appreciation piece goes so far, doesn't it? It's pretty amazing how powerful it is.
Mhm.
It's just something we don't even think about sometimes. So I love that
Yeah.
addition.
So it literally is learning a second language. I sat with a gentleman and his wife a while back, and they'd been married. I think it was their third marriage for each of them, and they've been married for 7 years in this one. And I just love what he said. He came to me. He's like, I am a caveman. He was like this tech guy, had this amazing tech career, which of course needed its own set of skills. And he comes to me, he says, I'm a caveman. I don't know how to repair or how to express my feelings and my wife, she's talking a different language. She's so good at this stuff. So sometimes just those wires get crossed, and sometimes it's both partners. A lot of the times one partner needs a little extra coaching and boost to get things rolling, but it really is learning a second language of specifically to our partner.
I love that so many people, it's like, oh, we have to go to therapy or coaching or whatever. Usually it's one partner, or it
Yeah.
can be. And it's like, wait, we're just here to learn a new skill set often, which can become exciting when it's like a shared task. And I think for so many people, especially hearing how simple these four new skills might be, it could actually just be that easy. And like people put it off for like 10 years, 20 years,
Yeah.
but having a shared structure can just be such a gift for both people. It takes so much pressure off. I'm guessing this works some or most of the time when there is this shared language, but sometimes people are going to be in their fight or flight. Some people are not going to be understanding what's going on with their other partner because of the circumstances, how they're communicating, different neurotypes, a million things. What does it look like to help couples uncross their wires and learn what's happening with their partner and move through that nervous system activation?
For example, when I sit with a couple, especially at the beginning, and sometimes the beginning from where I sit is like the first like 3 months of
Mm.
work together. It's not just one session. First, from my perspective, we have to uncross the wires within ourselves, right? We have to become aware, and this is what I help people do. When I'm sitting with someone, I'm thinking a couple, right? If I'm sitting with a couple and let's say, I'm just going to say a name, Joanna and Chris. This was the names that are come popping, random people. If I'm sitting with Joanna and Chris, I'm asking myself as their coach, is Joanna in her wise adult? Is she in her physiology of able to think of like long-term effects? Is her body relaxed? Is her voice kind of relaxed? What's her facial expression doing? Her fleshiness of her face? Is she coming from a I perspective, or is she coming from a I would like this because I want to be closer to you. I want to be more connected with you. I am always asking myself that question. And for that reason, then I can help Joanna, hypothetical person, uh, figure out within herself, is she in fight, flight, freeze, fix? And we slow everything down. So she knows, oh, when I have the thought of Chris doesn't understand that this is exactly how the dishwasher should be packed, and he's, making my life so hard. If he would just pack the dishes like this, everything would be better, right? That's a fight response. So we slow it down, and I help Joanna figure out, okay, well, maybe one of her adaptive child qualities is being right, taking that really fixed position of this is how it should be done, which of course we all know that, you know, as long as we get to the same end result in the end, the steps that we get there, it doesn't really matter. First, to answer your question, I help people uncross their wires internally. So as much as it is couples work, I really am helping people do internal work in the presence of their partner. And then once folks start coming back to me and they're like, I had this moment where I was having a great day, and then Chris came in and he said this thing to me, and then I just felt totally hopeless inside, like nothing would ever get better in our relationship. That could be like a collapse, like a freeze. And I didn't even know what to say, and I just felt numb. And if people come in and they're like, I think that might have been my adaptive child. I think I was, not in a relational space. I went into pure survival. That's when I start getting them to turn and face each other
Mm.
because they're able to differentiate. Okay, this is my survival physiology, my thoughts when I'm in survival physiology, my body sensations when I'm in survival physiology, and how I speak to my partner or don't, if we'll shut down and freeze. Uncrossing the wires internally first, build awareness, get really specific, and then coming back, bringing them back together. That's when they'll start to do it themselves. For example, I'll give you an example for myself. Sometimes my knee-jerk response is a flight response. So I'll get a whoosh in my body of, usually it's like I don't feel understood by you, to my partner. That's like the internal, I won't say that, but I'll feel it. I don't feel understood. And
Mhm.
then I'll hit the road, right? Flight. Let me get out of here. And that's because, of course, in my family of origin growing up, a lot of times I didn't feel understood. And
Yeah.
I would retreat to my room. Flight. I would put in some music and I would jam out. That is something that now, over, working the tools for myself over many years, I am able to feel that knee-jerk response, that flight response, and put my hand on my partner's shoulder or his hand and tell him, hey, I'm not feeling very connected with you right now. Can we just pause and like take some breaths together? And just to say one more piece about that, something that often comes up when I work with people is, let me just get rid of my adaptive child and I'll be fixed. Everything's going to be fine. Which is fair, of course. That's a like normal thought for people to have. The thing is, that adaptive child, that part of us that's great at fighting, flighting, fixing, people pleasing, bending over backwards, that part of us got us through some crazy ass shit where our adaptive child, without her, him, they, we wouldn't be here today.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's actually a part of when I do my programs or work with couples where I get them to write a letter to their adaptive child, thanking them for all the wonderful things that they have helped them with, whether that's hiding, whether that's people pleasing and having no needs, acknowledging their survival gifts.
Yeah.
And in that letter, what did it cost you? What has it cost you? And then the kind of finality of the letter is the wise adult coming in and giving guidance, limits, nurturance.
I often talk about trauma healing as like we're not like cutting things out, getting rid of. It's coming into new relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds so much more nurturing to me, kind of like embracing the adaptive child than let's just be done with it. I know that part of what you're kind of holding when you're holding clients is the awareness of intergenerational trauma. And I'm curious, we talked about family constellations and how that might be a tool you might use. How are you holding the intergenerational trauma piece? And then what are you doing with it with the couples?
So, I mean, to Just give like a really brief oversight just for your listeners if they're not familiar with what family constellations is. Back in the, I think, 30s, 40s, this guy named Bert Hellinger, this white dude from Germany, went to South Africa, lived with the Zulu people, learned from them for 17 years. He didn't want to go to war, so he did the whole like ministry thing in South Africa. And the Zulu people had this way of dealing with their community, with the land, with spirit, their ancestors, in a way of they wouldn't talk shit about each other. They had specific healing phrases where they would come together in ceremony and have these bones that they would collect from their, cattle or livestock. And a medicine woman, man, whoever, would throw the bones when there was an issue. And the bones would fall in a way that the medicine person would start to work with the different parts and how each bone had a relationship to the other, to the land, to spirit. And so Bert Hellinger was like, wow, they're onto something here. He gathered what he learned from them, took it back to Germany, kind of married that with Western Jungian therapy, and that's how Family Constellations was born. So, for example, like on Netflix, Another Self is a show that is
Mm.
totally based on, it's a Turkish series that follows a group of friends that go to family constellation workshops in Europe. With family constellations, you can constellate anything, which is pretty cool. Like I use it for my business all the time. Whenever I have an issue, my sister the other day, she's like, "Did you constellate?" I'm like, "Yeah, I constellated it." And now I feel much lighter. There's three roles. There's the facilitator, there's a seeker, and then there's representatives. So the seeker comes to me or any other facilitator with an issue. For example, I keep running into this, knee-jerk response to be defensive, right? That's a pretty common relational pattern. Men, women, all people. We can look at it. You can look at it in a group setting or more privately one-on-one. So we have the facilitator, we have the seeker, and then the representatives. The representatives are kind of like the Jungian archetypal perspective of the representatives can be people, so they can represent grandfather, grandmother, a past relative or past sibling, and they can be people in a group setting, and they embody, by no force of mind, embody what needs to happen within the soul movement for the possibility of healing to happen. We can also I use objects when I work with people, like a couple. So, like shells, rocks, right? And we're looking at the relationship of, okay, for example, if I sit with someone, he's like, yeah, I have this defensiveness thing that comes out and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where it came from. And then I say, okay, let's look at your relationship with you and your mom. Maybe he'll place the rocks on top of each other, one right next to each other. Maybe he'll place the rock, one here and one quite far away and looking off into the distance. And then we have a conversation because that information of proximity, where the body is turned, or it can be a rock, where the rock is turned, starts to open, and we can see things from a bird's eye perspective of patterns that we often miss when we're simply talking about how I have always seen my mom as critical or my dad as aloof. There's actually a lot going on. Maybe dad lost his dad at 10 years old. So that aloofness protected him from a flood of grief that no 10-year-old can hold. So of course dad was aloof and distant. Of course he was. He was surviving. So it just starts to open the conversation for those intergenerational patterns.
I have goosebumps as you're talking about it. And I'm imagining, you can tell me if this is accurate, that, in South Africa, the throwing of the bones is similar to how you're like putting the rocks or the shells down or having people stand as representatives. Is that accurate?
That's 100% accurate. Yeah. And it's so cool because so many people, I tell them, right off the jump, now the hardest task and what I need for you to do is I need for you to turn off your brain and I want you to place the rocks or sticky notes with names on it, whatever it is, from your gut brain. Just follow the impulse. Sometimes you just hold the rock in front of you. Where does this need to go? And the rock will place itself. And people, I work with a lot of like A-type people, which is interesting because I don't really wouldn't really place myself there. But yeah, they blow themselves away of listening to their intuition and sometimes I'll even ask them to place a rock and I'll say, I won't tell you who that is yet, but I've chosen a representative for that rock. And it's placed exactly how, the system needs to move, the relational field needs to move. So it's a beautiful way also of inviting people to get connected with that innate wisdom within themselves.
Yeah, I imagine that can just move so much energy, giving some space to this in a whole new, different way. And it must just take a new shape after that.
It really does. And sometimes we'll be carrying when you say like space. I think of so many times where I've done constellations for myself or other facilitators have, or when I sit with people is a lot of times we're carrying burdens or stuff from our relatives, family members, ancestors that we don't even know we're carrying. It's called a blind loyalty.
Yeah.
Like, why do I keep bumping into this same pattern? It's because subconsciously it's a way to stay loyal to, a parent or a grandparent that sometimes we never even met. Sounds a little crazy, but once you sit and you feel it in your body and then you give the burden back, like, hey, wait, what? How come I have all this freed up life force to live my life now instead of carrying someone else's fate?
I don't think that'll sound crazy to my audience. It doesn't to me. It's so
Okay.
cool. It's really beautiful work. Yeah. I'm aware of time and it just flew by.
It did.
I'm
I was thinking
curious
the same.
in these last couple of minutes if there is like just a message from your heart or from your gut around if anybody's kind of thinking about couples work or thinking about chatting with their partner about couples work. Is there anything that feels important to share here?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is there's so many of us, including myself, that we can think, and myself and my partner, we can think of like couples work or inner work as like a burden. It's like, oh, we have to go do that, right? But it's interesting because how the world tells us to be is work hard 9 to 5, or, for entrepreneurs in crazy other ways, to have a nice house, to build a business, or, put our energy into building this thing. Yet sometimes we don't think that the reason why we have a house is that we can be in it and love the people that we spend time with. We need to give equal attention and energy to that. What are we doing inside of the house? What are we doing inside of our loving relationship? Of course, we need to work on it. Of course, it's not going to be a walk in the park. Of course, it's going to be hard. Just like when we go to the gym. And it's like, I don't want to go to the gym, but I know I'm going to feel better after.
Mhm.
Working on a relationship is often like putting in those reps.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it takes less than 10 seconds to send your partner a, hey, I'm thinking of you. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Heart bouquet emoji. 10 seconds. So I would just say to people that, if you're on the side of the partnership where you're receiving that message from your partner, like, dragging my feet, I don't want to work on our relationship. Don't stop the invitation. You can build something beautiful, and sometimes it's just working with a coach that's able to position it differently than we have for the past 10 years, right? And for the people listening that are like, what's the point? It's just another skill set is to be in relationship and learn new tools. So like, why not get really good at mastering them?
Yes. If people are going, where do I find this human and how can I learn more? Where do they find you?
My website, thegoodhumanacademy.com, is the spot, or on Instagram, which I haven't updated in a while. It's the same at the Good Human Academy. I'm actually teaching a few free workshops in September. They're called the Grandiosity Grid. So it's a way, my favorite tool to look at relationships is through the Grandiosity Grid that we look at self-esteem, boundaries, and how we can use this tool to better our relationships. So you can find on my website that free workshop. I'm also teaching a program called The Legacy of Love starting in October.
Amazing. Gosh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to get this out there in the world because I know folks will be so interested. And thank you for taking the time and sharing your wisdom and your experience.
Thank you so much for having me, Shelby. It's been a pleasure sitting with you. And from the first time we met at that training, I was like, Shelby, she's someone that I could spend time with, go for coffee, go have some tea, and I'm really feel grateful that we got to sit together today and have a chat.
Me too. Thank you. If something in this episode stirred something in you, a question, a recognition, a quiet, oh, you can learn more through my website, shelby-lee.com. And before we go, a little reminder to do something kind for yourself today. See you next time.